I spent 10 days traveling through Yunnan and Sichuan in China, and it was one of the most surreal trips of my life. From ancient towns to sky-high mountain summits, Kung Fu Stadium training to spicy Sichuan hot pot, every day felt like a new adventure. Let me take you through it day by day. Day 1 Lijiang. We started by flying from Shanghai into Lijiang, a city surrounded by mountains and full of history. The old town felt like stepping into another era. Cobblestone alleys, wooden homes, lanterns everywhere. We tried traditional foods and tea, and even had this ancient pu'er tea ceremony inside a traditional tea house. Ashley and I dressed up in traditional garments, and it instantly felt like the trip had transported us back centuries. The pace of life in Lijiang was slow, relaxed, and we loved that. Day 2, Lijiang culture and nightlife. The next day was packed. In Beisha ancient town, I tried traditional metalworking. Then we visited the Beisha Naxi Embroidery Institute, where local women keep a centuries-old art form alive with insanely detailed needlework. From there, we went up to Yulong Snow Mountain to see the famous Lijiang Impression Show. It's this massive outdoor performance with hundreds of locals set against the mountain backdrop. Blue Moon Valley was next, turquoise waters surrounded by misty peaks. Absolutely unreal. That night, we had dinner at Over the Bridge restaurant, then joined the Naxi people for square dancing. Walking the old town at night was its own adventure, glowing lanterns. Live music pouring out of clubs, neon lights reflecting off wet stone streets. Lijiang's nightlife was surprisingly electric. Day 3, train to Shangri-La. On day 3, we checked out of our hotel in Lijiang and took a train north into Shangri-La. Right away, the altitude hit us. The air was thinner, the pace slower. We had a traditional lunch, then checked into a hotel in Dukazong ancient town. The area has these traditional style houses and cobbled streets, and it felt even quieter than Lijiang. That afternoon, we saw Napa Lake and the surrounding grasslands, and stopped at a stupa for a moment of calm. Dinner that night was at Karzaija's Toast Manor, incredible performers, singers, an individual hot pot meal that was its own experience. These vocals were chillingly beautiful. Afterward, we joined locals for traditional dancing in the town square, then spun the giant 60-ton prayer wheel overlooking the town. That moment really felt magical. Day 4, Shika Snow Mountain. Day 4 was all about altitude. We took a cable car up Shika Snow Mountain, climbing to over 4,400 meters, the highest I've ever been. The weather was damp and foggy, with rain falling and clouds covering the peaks. We couldn't see the surrounding mountains, but honestly, being that high was surreal enough. We hung metal wishes, saw prayer flags fluttering in the wind, and just took in the atmosphere. After lunch at the Paradise Hotel, we visited a Thangka painting institution. These paintings are spiritual, symbolic, and incredibly detailed. I even tried a beginner's example myself. We finished the day strolling through Dukazong ancient town, enjoying slow life, cafes, shops, and traditional architecture.
Also the Western Sichuan.
Day 5, Patatso and the Big Bend. Day 5 was another big one. We drove to Patatso National Park. Lots of wildlife, yaks, cows, pigs, and small stupas scattered along the trails. We hung more metal wishes, took a short boat tour, and then headed for the Jinchijiang sightseeing platform. This is the famous Big Bend of the Yangtze River. I couldn't resist pulling out the ball and doing some freestyle tricks with mountains and glaciers in the background. From there, we drove to Meili's Snow Mountain Scenic Area and checked into Zulongma Yuju Hotel, perched right in the high mountains. Day 6, Meili's Snow Mountain and back to Shangri-La. The weather didn't clear for us, so we couldn't see the full panoramic views, but even in the clouds, Meili felt mystical. At one point, the peak of Kawagarbo barely peeked through. We grabbed coffee at a little place called Langlageland, wrote postcards to our families, and just soaked it in. Later that day, we drove back to Shangri-La, where I trained at the county stadium, juggling a ball in the thin mountain air. Dinner that night was at Three Brothers Restaurant with a view of the town square, where locals danced well into the night. Afterward, we flew east to Chengdu. Day 7, arrival in Kangding. Day 7, we drove from Chengdu into the mountains, stopping at Tianquan service area along the 318 highway. By evening we reached Kangding, known as the City of Love Songs. We had dinner with a traditional opera performance, dressed in traditional outfits, and ended the night with bubble milk tea walking through the city streets. Day 8, Kangding and anniversary. The next morning we explored Kangding. The city is built right along a roaring river, and it cuts directly through downtown, unlike any city I've seen. Had lunch at Tashi overlooking the city, and this one pita pizza thing was unbelievably good. We went up to Mujeku Lake, where we hiked along geothermic streams and woodland trails with incredible alpine views. That night was special. I surprised Ashley with a bouquet of roses for our 2-year wedding anniversary. We had dinner at Pine Green Restaurant, steak, and a mountain-shaped yak yogurt dessert cake. One of my favorite meals of the trip. Day 9, back to Chengdu. On day 9, we drove back to Chengdu. For lunch, I pushed myself outside my comfort zone, spicy hot pot, and I mean spicy. I don't usually eat heat like this, but I tried some of the spiciest beef I've ever had, and survived. That afternoon, we visited Quanzai Alley for shopping. Then I hit a local ballpark in Zikun and trained with 10-year-old footballers. Their energy was amazing. It never ceases to amaze me how universal sport is. Just like dance, food, and arts. We didn't speak the same language, but we communicated with the ball. That night, we capped the day at the Sichuan Opera. The show was breathtaking. Acrobats, water sleeves, dancers, and face changers. My favorite was a woman performing juggling with her feet, keeping pots and tables in the air with insane skill. It was one of the highlights of the whole trip. Day 10, Pandas and Farewell. On our last day, I woke up in our 28th floor hotel overlooking the city. The nearby stadium had actually been converted into an exhibit for ancient ruins discovered underneath the field. After breakfast, we went to the Chengdu research base of giant pandas. Seeing the pandas up close was unbelievable. Some just munching bamboo, others sleeping in trees, and even tiny baby pandas only a few months old. We also saw red pandas, and capped it off with panda-shaped ice cream bars. It was the perfect ending. From there, we flew back to Shanghai. Bonus Disneyland Shanghai. But our trip wasn't quite done. Ashley and I are huge Disney fans, so the next day we went to Shanghai Disneyland. We go to Orlando every year, so it was amazing to see how Disney brought its magic to China. Looking back, this trip had everything. The slow pace of Lijiang's alleys, cultural traditions in Shangri-La, the raw challenge of high-altitude summits, the neon energy of Chengdu, and of course, the pandas. My personal highlights were spinning that giant prayer wheel, reaching the summit of Shika Mountain, watching the foot juggler at the opera, and seeing the pandas in real life. 10 days in Yunnan and Sichuan, a journey I'll never forget.